YouTube, what's good? This is the new train back with a brand new video, man. I got a little nostalgia trip. I got my friend here with me, Sly Voltage. If y'all remember him back from the old Destiny 1 days / Black Ops 2 days, he was on the channel. But today we're gonna react to a little bit of D1 kind of life cycle. It's just a video I saw as a recommendation and I found it interesting, so I was like, you know what, let's make something from it. So today, Sly Voltage, if you want to say something to the channel, feel free, bro.
What's good? What's good? You know, it's your boy. You know, yes. I play a lot of D1. You know,
right. So yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. So 2014, Destiny 1 came out. Did you buy the game at launch? When did you get into Destiny?
Yo, I can't even tell you really. I think it's when Crota dropped, because I didn't start when it first came out. You know what I mean? Number one, 2014 just seemed like a while.
It is,
bro. I remember those days. But like, I played it when Crota, I think after Crota dropped and before, I think the next DLC was House of Wolves. So I definitely played it before House of Wolves. Okay. And instantly fell in love with it, bro. Like, it was over, man. Nothing like it. It literally was nothing like it.
All right. Yeah, like I said, so my history with Destiny, I actually started playing the beta before the official game released, and I played the beta for like, I think it was only available for like a week, maybe less than a week, but it was so addicting. The servers stayed active even though the beta was closed. Like, you could still kind of like go in and mess with certain things. You just couldn't do everything that they gave you access to originally. So when the beta closed, I was still playing up until the launch of the game. So that's how, you know, I knew I was addicted. You know what I mean? I knew I was addicted to something, and they had something good here. I was like, you know, that this is going to be a game I'm going to play for a while. I mean, I just kind of had that feeling. After the beta was received well to me. And then from there, it just kind of, you know, kept going. So this video specifically is not about just like Destiny as what it is per se, but it's about the meta. This is about PvE / PvP, but more so PvP. Okay, so this video is just going through every meta that was recognized in Destiny for what guns were good, what guns were bad. So some of these are exotics, some are legendaries. I don't think there's any rares, but we're just going to kind of talk about some of the weapons if we want to, and just react to the video. So let's go ahead and get into it.
This is the evolution of Destiny's most iconic weapons. This nostalgic journey takes us through the last decade of Destiny and revisits the most influential weapons of each era. We're starting with the game's very first weapons in 2014 and ending with the modern weapons of today. So prepare to experience this incredible journey through the evolution. Look
at that icebreaker, Thorn, the last word.
Yes, one of my favorite weapons, you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
it was
sir.
September 2014, and Destiny 1 had just gone online for the first time.
September 9th, 2014,
what
bro.
Weapons were good. Everyone's character screen looked like this, and players were just excited to boot up the game and discover what it meant to be a Guardian.
Okay, do you see that?
Excited to boot up the game.
Yes, I see all of it now. Whoa, dude.
Can you hear it too?
Everyone
Can you hear him talking?
This time
Yeah.
will remember
okay.
Loading in and acquiring the Kvostov, the very first weapon you got as you entered the game. After completing more missions, people started acquiring more uncommon and rare weapons, and eventually everyone left the Kvostov behind. But still, nobody really knew what they were doing. It was a period of mystery, of discovery. There were no obvious overpowered weapons at this time because everyone was just exploring the game and experimenting with
every when they
piece
dropped
of loot that dropped, regardless
at the
of rank.
9 guy?
If you happened to get the blue Stalker Bengal scout rifle, you probably just said, that looks really cool, let me equip it and try it out. The crazy thing was, this blue was actually pretty good in the early days. Most people didn't have legendaries, and exotics were essentially unheard of for the first few days. Anyone lucky enough to own an exotic was treated like they just made the most groundbreaking discovery in human history. This period is looked upon with a huge amount of nostalgia because everything was so unknown. Nobody was optimizing their builds, nobody cared what weapons were the best, and everyone just wanted to acquire more loot and take it into the wild. After these first few days had passed, the community's understanding of weapons slowly evolved, and people began to learn more about exotics. One that really stood out was the Suros regime, an exotic auto rifle that was essentially just better in every way compared to other auto rifles. People had already started to notice the dominance of autos, and this was basically the ultimate weapon that everybody wanted. It had the classic Suros perk for bonus damage at the bottom half of the magazine, and also a chance to restore health to the player. At the time, there were basically no sources of healing like this, so this made Suros an exciting and coveted weapon that was really powerful.
Alright, so let's pause real quick. So, the first weapon he's covering is Suros regime. This is literally like the beginning of Destiny's life cycle. As soon as multiplayer, the Crucible, was discovered, this was the weapon that was considered meta. Do you remember the Suros regime dominating, and do you remember getting the Suros regime around this time period?
I've kind of dodged this time period. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, because you did mention you started it at Crota's End, I believe, or the
Yeah, but I see you shooting on the moon though, so I was very, very bad at Destiny at this time. I mean, not Destiny. Well, Destiny, but PvP too. So, like, I didn't even play it. Like,
right.
I was, we was like, what, almost freshmen? No, we were like sophomores.
Yeah. In high school, yeah.
Yeah, high school, bro. Yeah, in high school. Sophomores in high school. So, like, I'm sitting here going through the moon being so super scared while this is all going on, dude. I had no idea. I hear a couple things about this Suros regime, but like, nah. And then at this time, since I sucked at PvP, I was kind of dodging it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I said, I started off as well because the beta was really, it wasn't really PvP. It was just mainly PvE, strikes and everything. I didn't start off jumping into the Crucible. I started off just exploring the game, exploring who we are and our purpose in this realm. I didn't get a bunch of exotics immediately. So the Suros regime, I do remember people talking about it, but I didn't jump into Crucible and use it, or I didn't get destroyed by it because I was just kind of getting a feel for the game, kind of like you. So this meta, we both kind of missed out on it, which I'm not necessarily mad about because auto rifles aren't my favorite weapon to use in Destiny anyway. But for some people, they got to see the rise and the fall of Suros regime.
But Suros regime is a cool weapon, though.
It is a cool weapon.
I mean, it's hard. It's hard with Bungie because you can say that almost about every weapon they drop, I mean, of course, there's some not so good ones. Everyone sound good, but the Suros regime was actually unique. I feel like was pretty unique. And, like, a lot of people like the spinning up perk, but I kind of like the slowing down one. Like precision and long distance. Honestly, one of the coolest auto rifles, me personally. I like it. Yeah. I'm not an AR guy either, but, hey.
All right, so that's Meta 1 Suros regime.
After you unlocked all of its perks. Destiny 1 launched with a system where all players needed to
look at the icebreaker, bro.
Perk on every weapon.
Okay, real quick, icebreaker. Do you remember? What do you remember about the icebreaker? I'm gonna just let you talk.
Look. Because again, like around this time, like I still wasn't really a PvP guy. So, but the icebreaker, you could use, I remember Vex, on the Vex raid, people used to say, okay, everybody sit back, I'm gonna go in this glitch spot, and like shoot the, I forgot what they call those, the lights, that would go in sequence.
Right, yeah.
Before you face like the bad, really. Dude, people are gonna roast me because I don't know these names, I done forgot the name. It used to sit in these clutch spots, and as a kid, bro, like, I used to be like, oh my gosh, what? You watch them soloing it, and they're using the icebreaker, and the sound it made, and the fact that it recharged like ammo, truly unique, bro. Like really unique. And I thought it was really, really, really cool. It had some pretty high aim assist, but at this time, I didn't know about this stuff, that much. Right. But it was so unique in the aspect, and the sound of it, and the perks is elite up their weapon, bro. Creativity and usefulness. Yeah, bro. It's a definitely S tier for me personally. We were ranking these things.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool too. We should do a different video ranking exotics, like exotic tier list ranking. I think we could do that as well. Sick. You know, for D1, because D2, there's some weapons we both never even touched. We could do a ranking on that tier list video. But yeah, the icebreaker, I don't really remember when I got the icebreaker. You know, like you said, we're talking about 2014 here. I'm pretty sure I got it in 2014. I just don't remember, like, you know, what activity, where it dropped or anything like that. But the icebreaker was one of my favorite snipers. Like you said, it has incredibly fast aim down sight. It's got mulligan, so if you miss a round, it'll go back to your magazine.
You're right, bro. You're right.
Yeah, you've got the exotic perk where it automatically regens ammo. So when you run out, you know, a lot of people use icebreaker for raids because, like you said, there's a bunch of glitch spots, especially in the beginning, and you could just run icebreaker and, you know, cheese a lot of stuff. And if you didn't have the weapon, people look to you as like that guy who can, you know, kind of carry and things like that. So icebreaker was one of those, you know, S tier weapons for sure.
Also made enemy explode when you killed them.
Yeah, it did have an explosive effect.
And spending a crazy amount of planetary materials. This was partially why it took the player base so long to discover which weapons were good. If you wanted to discover the full potential of the weapon, you first had to farm for hours and use it extensively to access its perks and then literally up.
So look at the materials, right? You needed, let's go back just for a second. Let's see.
Had to farm for.
So you need glimmer, spin metal, and I can't see what the bottom one is.
For hours and use it extensively to access its perks.
I think it's just those two. So yeah, so you need glimmer and spin metal. You know, spin metal was a planetary material that you could only get from Earth. You remember each planet had their own material, and then you have to farm those materials just to upgrade the exotics. And then the last upgrade for damage, you had to use a exotic shard and weapon parts. So you had to farm exotic shards. I don't remember where you get exotic shards. That's also been, you know, way too long. But exotic shards,
you can break them down from weapons, like exotic weapons.
Yeah, that's one way, but I'm pretty sure there's another way.
Some weapons were extremely bad before you unlocked their upgrades, so this made it really hard to tell which weapons might be worth using.
Yeah, he's right, man.
Suros was able to output massive damage, and it was very strong in all types of content. It was undoubtedly the king of autos. However, the game made a monumental shift a few days later and introduced its first raid. As soon as the Vault of Glass came around, everyone's attention shifted to another weapon, the infamous Vex Mythoclast. The Mythoclast was arguably even more overpowered than Suros, but it was incredibly difficult to acquire because it only dropped from the hard mode Vault of Glass raid, and it was a pretty rare drop. This mysterious Vex weapon was sourced from a distant and unknown corner of space and time. And its description played into this since it was a never-ending loop that could be read over and over. Even though it was technically the only fusion rifle using primary ammo, it essentially functioned like an auto rifle with a convenient excuse to deal an absurd amount of damage. It absolutely melted everything in the game, and especially Guardians in the PvP Crucible mode. Coming in at an unbelievable 56 damage per headshot, this thing was just flat out unfair, and no opposing Guardians stood a chance.
Okay, the Vex Mythoclast. I will be honest with you, I feel like that was the most meta of any weapon. What I mean by that, every exotic has their time, right? But the time that the Vex Mythoclast was at the top, no other weapons that had its peak compared to that gun, bro. And I just remember the popularity because I could, like you said, the only way to get the Vex Mythoclast was from Vault of Glass on hard mode. I could never get it. I tried, you know, hundreds of times attempting this. And you already know, in order to do a raid anyway, you have to do find LFG or something like that to find the right people. And a lot of those attempts were failed, but the attempts I did get, I never got it. I don't remember what weapon dropped at the end. That's like a legendary or whatever, but I never got the Vex. So I got
it's not the found verdict, right?
I think because you got. I can't remember, bro.
Revenge, you get that from the middle encounter. Predator's Revenge.
But yeah, I did start playing Crucible around this time, and I remember getting deleted by the Vex, and it was like, I was like, it didn't make me want to quit. It just made me want to grind harder to try to get that gun. But, you know, some people, if they didn't get it, you know, it probably kind of deterred them. And they're like, you know, they don't have friends or they don't have a raid group. So it's kind of hard for them to even, you know, come close. So some people probably left during this time just because of that. But at the same time, you know, it kind of just encouraged me to keep going, to try to get it. And I eventually got it, but it was way after the gun had been nerfed.
Man, I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like this is something that Destiny 2 misses a lot. I heard some creators talk about that. Is that exclusivity. The exclusivity of items. Like, you get killed by the Vex Mytho class, you want to go get it. I've seen something be amazing or awesome, or somebody do like a really nice, awesome feat, and like I'll be like, okay, I want to do that, or I want to go ahead and get it. And it can be hard, bro, and it can be hard to get, but like I feel like that was part of the allure. Like when you went and you had something that other people just didn't have, and you flexed it. It made people walked up, and it was just cool. And I think we're missing some of that exclusivity. Yeah, it sucks sometimes when it happens to you. But if you achieve, you know, that, you know, during this time, as they say, RNGesus, you know, if you achieve, if you get it on your side, bro, and you get that weapon, bro, like, and then you walk in, they're like, bro, he got it, you know what I mean? Like, so I think it's really cool. I didn't really play Crucible around this time, still just yet. Yeah, I don't think so just yet. Like, I played, but...
We're creeping up, like, you know, when we get there. Yeah. But I did start playing Crucible when the Vex Mythocast was at the top. But it wasn't like I was, like, deep into it. You know, and like I said, because I didn't have the weapon, it kind of deterred me to play Crucible all the time because I knew I would get destroyed. But I did try it when this weapon was meta. Let's go ahead. Let's keep going.
Well, wait, right before you pause it, I'm surprised you said that this was... one of the metas you feel like were like the tippity top, excluding Destiny 2.
Like yeah, I feel like
wow, even Thorn?
Yeah, no, this was worse than Thorn.
Okay, we'll get to it.
Tension shifted away from the Vex and Suros a few weeks later, though, as they were both hit with colossal nerfs.
That's crazy. Like, and here's the thing, the reign of the Suros and the reign of the Vex was very minimal in the grand scheme of things. I do believe the Thorn meta, since you brought it up, we'll talk about Thorn real quick. I believe the Thorn meta was way longer than probably both of these two metas combined. Yes. So that's probably why you're more favored towards that. But I do think the Vex in its prime was stronger than Thorn. That's just my opinion.
Vex was so far out of line that it got hit with a 34% nerf to its base damage. At the same time, though, there were also some buffs to other weapon types, and this marked the first notable shift in Destiny's meta and the focus of the community.
Okay, pause. Do you know what weapons were buffed when the Vex was nerfed? Do you know that?
Absolutely not, bro.
Okay. Like which weapon types? What weapon types? Like hand cannon, pulse rifle, shotgun? What do you think got buffed when auto rifles got nerfed? If you had to guess.
Maybe scouts, because he just showed a scout. That's my only guess.
Okay.
That's my only guess, bro.
I mean, that's not a bad guess. Cannon. That's not a bad guess. But let's see. Let's see. I'm just curious.
It's probably hand cannons, yeah.
One of the weapons that started to gain some attention was Fatebringer, another weapon from the Vault of Glass raid. The main selling point of this weapon was the fact that it was an arc primary, and in fact, it was the only one in the game. This made it extremely desirable for hard activities like Nightfalls with the arc burn modifier, because under such circumstances, this weapon would deal 300% more damage. The Firefly and explosive rounds on this weapon made it an ad-clear monster, and other legendary hand cannons really couldn't compete in PvE. However, another hand cannon that started to gain some attention...
Okay, let's pause, because he moved very quickly off of that. What do you remember about Fatebringer?
You know, this is one of my favorite hand cannons of all time. Definitely top 5. Yeah, definitely top 5. You know, the old combo. Fatebringer, Black Hammer, Gallahorn.
Oh, man.
So good.
Yo, that's such a nostalgic loadout, bro.
That loadout was so strong. They nerfed. They had the Dino. They changed Black Hammer to an exotic. Maybe this was D2, changed it to a heavy. Fatebringer, Black Hammer, Gallahorn.
I'll say this. I remember Fatebringer being very good in PvE. Amazing. I remember everybody running it for the raids, right? And I remember, you know, the Firefly, like you said, and it being arc. That's crazy. I didn't remember that, though. It was the only arc hand cannon in the game. So that made it very rare.
And the perks worked really well together.
Yeah, I remember getting Fatebringer pretty early on, and I know for sure it was during the raid. Fatebringer, very good hand cannon. Like you said, it's very close and dear near and dear to our hearts.
A lot of Destiny play, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if it's in a lot of people's top 5.
Okay, here we go. Ready for the next one?
Yep.
Was Hawkmoon, but only if you happen to be on the PlayStation console. Unfortunately, due to an exclusivity agreement that was made with Sony, plenty of strikes, maps, and even exotic weapons like Hawkmoon were only available for PlayStation users. The perks on this weapon made 3 lucky bullets deal bonus damage, but these perks could actually all stack on top of each other to randomly upgrade a single bullet with astronomical damage. It dealt so much damage that it could actually one-shot people in the Crucible. During this era...
Okay, let's pause. Okay, so Hawkmoon, like he said, it was a PlayStation exclusive, and guess where me and you were, bro?
Xbox.
On Xbox. We are Xbox users. The only time I got to experience Hawkmoon, besides when it came to D2, was over my friend, you know, Kelvin's house.
Yeah, Kelvin.
Kelvin had the Hawkmoon, and he told me he got it, so I would go to his house literally after school. I'd go after school, you know, see if it was any good or whatever. And I think one time he came to my house and brought the game, and I tried it, but I wasn't, you know, like I said, because it was exclusive to only PlayStation, I didn't have a PlayStation at that time. I was not as concerned about the meta, I'll just say that. But yeah, it's definitely a great gun, and then like you said, it could one shot in the Crucible. Never got to use that. So this meta, you know, me and you, we both completely missed out on the one shot Hawkmoon, but I don't think we really missed out on much.
I will say this might be my number 1 favorite weapon in entirety of Destiny ever. Like, you know, I would run this thing so much. There was a weapon I ran more, but this right here is definitely, it's my number 1. I love it so much. The precision, I was always a precision guy, sniper guy, you know, hand cannon guy when I was at my peak in Destiny, trials and all that. So we'll get to that, but yeah, this is it. It's the fact that you have to be precise. You know, if you miss, you're kind of screwed up close. It's not the best, you know what I mean? But that's why I liked about it so much. And yeah, it could be a little cheesy to go up against but yes, this is my number 1 favorite one. Out the 3, my number 1 weapon in all of Destiny. It's just, I don't know, it embodies the type of PvP player I am. Okay. It really does.
Something that was also really notable about hand cannons in general was that they were extremely generous when it came to range. They could hit people from seemingly halfway across the map and still hit for full damage, and yet they were somehow also super effective in medium to short range. Similar to Fatebringer, Vision of Confluence was a primary weapon with that rare elemental burn that made it particularly effective against shielded enemies and anything with a burn modifier. This scout rifle dealt solar damage, and it was notable due to its full auto perk, high stability, and also its ability to reach up to 27 rounds in the magazine. It came with an incredible 19 in the mag by default, but with the right perks it could reach 27, which was, and still is, pretty unbelievable.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. The Vision of Confluence, could you only get that from the hard raid Vault of Glass?
Probably not. You probably can get it from
You can get it from normal too? Okay.
I think you could. You could, but don't quote me on that. It's a long time.
To be honest with you, this weapon was probably one of my least used raid weapons. I did get the Vision of Confluence at some point, but it was not like anything that I was just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna like run this all the time. You know, I just felt like there were better scout rifles, and if you know me, I've got a favorite scout rifle in the game. It's just not this one. He mentioned it's great for PvE, you know, solar, and I believe it also has some sort of firefly to it as well. Fatebringer existed, bro, and I had Fatebringer way before I got this, so I just preferred running Fatebringer over the scout rifle.
I will say Atheon, if you get teleported, Vision of Confluence is good to that part to me. And also some of the Cabal Nightfalls, because it was, I think it was solar? Yeah, like I liked using it for those. Yeah, so stuff like that, but yeah.
Yeah, so you probably had
PvE.
Definitely more PvE weapon for sure, but I think you had more usage with it in PvE than I did. I didn't use it that much.
Wow, okay.
And it's just crazy though, because I like scout rifles, and this just wasn't one to do it for me. You know, maybe it was just the magazine was higher, but the rate of fire was so slow, and I was just like, I don't know, I just didn't feel it. But it is a good gun, definitely is, but it just wasn't my used weapon. It wasn't my go-to.
Icebreaker was an incredible sniper with infinite ammo. It had no reserve ammo and couldn't pick up special from the ground, but it would periodically summon ammo
look at
into
that
the
no-scope.
magazine for no reason every few seconds.
Don't even get
With
me
this
started.
weapon, you didn't need to do anything special to be rewarded with endless, high-impact sniper rounds. It did a ton of damage and also came with a perk that would make enemies explode and damage anything else nearby. Due to it completely breaking the ammo economy within the game, players loved to use this weapon to cheese various bosses and encounters.
You literally
PvE.
said it, dude.
Like, for example, you could hit the oracles from super
The
high
oracles,
up in
is that what you
fireballs.
want?
Yeah, the
Or
oracles.
just sit
Yes, this is
miles away
exactly
from
what I
basically
meant.
any boss and slowly chip away.
And
at
that's
the
what people
health bar.
did. Like, they would sit right where he was at in the video and sit up high up on a rock and then just shoot the oracles from far away. That's what people did, bro.
Yep.
That was the meta.
Nightfall bosses were considered extremely difficult, so it was just a really reliable, albeit boring strategy to hide somewhere and slowly take down the boss.
Wow.
With icebreakers
Yes, I
infinite
remember
ammo.
doing.
Featuring the snapshot and
Brings
quick
back
draw
memories.
perks, it was also a really popular choice for the Crucible. In a
Bro,
lot-
Yep.
let's just pause, bro. That was crazy. You want to go back and see that?
Insane. Yeah.
Yeah, come on. Come on,
It
bro.
was a
Quick draw
little
perks,
insane,
it was
right?
also
I'm
a
not gonna
really
lie.
popular
Yo,
choice for the Crucible.
Nerf icebreaker, bro. 424
It was
damage
pretty
headshot.
insane.
There's no way you're
Yeah, it was-
surviving that, bro. No matter what class you are. That is crazy.
In a lot of ways, Icebreak, and while that may have made them impossible to balance, it also made them immensely exciting. Guardians were grinding like crazy to get their hands on these weapons and put them to use defending the city. But these weren't the only Guardians out there saving the universe. Now let's move into the next era in Destiny's history of iconic weapons. As a quick note here, I want to clarify that this video is progressing through each era of Destiny in order, and then discussing weapons when they reach peak relevance in the meta and in the community. As you will soon see, peak relevance does not always coincide with the release of the weapon. By the time the Dark Below expansion came out a few months after launch, players were starting to become a little smarter about determining exactly what weapons were truly the most powerful. In the past, it was somehow not properly recognized, but around this time, the wider community was finally starting to discover the astonishing power of the Gjallarhorn. Forged from the armor of dead titans to honor those who perished during the Battle of Twilight Gap, this weapon had a few perks that made it infinitely better than any other rocket launcher. Its main perk would summon explosive Wolfpack rounds to deal tons of bonus damage and absolutely melt bosses and explode huge groups of enemies. The sheer destructive potential of this weapon was unmatched, but it was also pretty rare and many players did not have it. This weapon exclusively dropped from random luck, and back then, exotic drops were really not that common. Funny enough, the vendor Xur had actually sold Gjallarhorn months ago right after the game released, but players were still so inexperienced that almost everyone thought it was not worth getting. The rationale was, why buy an exotic heavy that I can only use occasionally, when instead I could buy an exotic primary that I use all the time? People really started to regret that reasoning more and more as Guardians learned just how insane this weapon really was.
Okay, Gjallarhorn. I know you said you joined, I think, was it around this time or no?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so when Xur came to the tower and he said, "Hey, I got the Gjallarhorn," were you there for that?
I knew nothing about it. This was still when I was really new.
I'm not
I
gonna
knew
lie.
nothing about this stuff.
I was still new as
You
well, and I had strange coins, but I didn't have
You
enough.
didn't buy it?
No.
You didn't have enough?
I didn't have enough.
Wow,
But
that hurts
I
you
also was kind of on the same logic as like everybody else. I was like, why would I buy a rocket launcher when there are primaries? Like, I didn't know how good Gjallarhorn was. I didn't know about the Wolfpack rounds, none of that. You know what I mean? So I was just looking at it, and I just thought it was just a fancy looking rocket launcher. Come to find out, it was like one of the best metas that we had. Yeah, for PvE. I mean, it did step into the Crucible for a little bit, but of course the Gjallarhorn got nerfed, so it wasn't really as strong in Crucible. But it is good in PvE. It always was.
I will say, like,
It took me a while to get Gjallarhorn too.
Yeah, I think I only got it when they dropped it. I
No.
think I was one of those guys
No,
when they dropped it.
I know
in
for
the
sure
house.
I got Gjallarhorn before Xur came back.
Oh,
I know I got
you
it
were
as a
so
random
happy.
drop.
I don't think I ever did.
I want to say
Okay.
it was from a strike. I could be wrong, but if I had to guess, it was a Nightfall strike. Because like I said, I was a big PvE guy, so were you. So I was grinding Nightfalls heavy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, as soon as the reset, I'm on that, bro. I'm on that. You know what I mean?
You might hear about some real degeneracy. All right.
Okay.
Remember, chat. All right. Remember, I was a kid. All right.
Okay. But your experience with Gjallarhorn, you got it when Zora came back and sold it, right?
I think that's what happened. Yeah.
Okay. I definitely remember getting it as a random drop.
Because I remember one of my favorite videos was from this penguin guy. It was like a penguin YouTuber back then, like Blue Westlaw, I think. One of my favorite videos. He was like, he used to review exotic weapons, and he got to the Gjallarhorn. He was like talking about stuff. He was like, okay, let's get to the real, the real-ish, the Wolfpack rounds. This is all what you've been waiting for, pretty much. The Wolfpack rounds, man, crazy. Yeah. I'm gonna stop right there, but yeah, crazy Wolfpack.
I think I remember Blue Westlaw too. That's an iconic name, bro.
Yeah, dude, his Destiny videos were hilarious. His exotic reviews.
It was so good, in fact, that some groups even required that you have Gjallarhorn in order to join them, creating a controversial divide among the community. If you had Gjallarhorn, you were practically a legend, and if you didn't have it, you were unfortunately excluded from many raid groups.
So let's pause on that. Like I said, I definitely got the Gjallarhorn as an RNG drop from a strike or something like that. Some sort of mission. So I do remember the Dark Below and these groups. They were like, yeah, you don't have Gjallarhorn, you can't join. Guess what? Yeah, I had it, bro. Let me in. Let me in. You know what I mean? So I used to get to play. I'm not going to lie. I do remember that. And that was not the best era of Destiny because they literally would not let you play if you didn't have it. And no offense, I have friends. I'm not going to mention any names. Not you, who didn't get it, and they were trying to play with me, and literally I wasn't the host. They were like, yeah, you can't join because you don't have Gjallarhorn. So
did they say, do you know what shape Italy is?
They probably did, and then they kicked them, bro, and then I felt bad, but I only felt bad for like 5 minutes, bro, and then I just kept playing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You're toxic, bro. Yeah, toxic raid.
But yes, Gjallarhorn era, where it was exclusive to raids, that wasn't cool. But everything else about the weapon, it was pretty good.
It's amazing.
And this became more prevalent as people took on the brand new raid called Crota's End. Speaking of the raid, Crota's Hunger was a rocket launcher that was the closest thing to Gjallarhorn for those who didn't have it.
Yeah,
this rocket launcher featured desirable perks like tracking and cluster bombs, making it function like a significantly less powerful and legendary version of the Gjallarhorn. All things considered, it was solid, and it occupied the heavy slot for many players as they continued to grind and hope their lucky Gjallarhorn drop would finally arrive. Although it was popular, Hunger of Crota was certainly not the best weapon from the Crota's End raid. Black Hammer was a legendary sniper with an absolutely bonkers perk that made it a monster for dealing sustained damage. This perk was so overpowered that it would have been more fitting to see it on an exotic, and even then, it still would have made this the best sniper in the game. This perk was called White Nail, and it provided you with infinite ammo as long as you continued to land headshots.
Okay, Black Hammer, bro. What you got?
Bruh, iconic. I mean, like the guy said, bro, they eventually made it an exotic, and it was still coveted. You know what I mean? Like, it was still useful. Like, even though it took up an exotic slot. Like, imagine having Gjallarhorn and Black Hammer, and then the Fatebringer triple threat, bro.
Yep.
Like, oh my gosh, bro. In D2, they're all exotic. Well, Gjallarhorn was already exotic, and of course, the Black Hammer eventually became one, right? But like, even the Fatebringer with the arc has been made into an exotic. Imagine these in D1. They're all like, they're 2 of the 3 are legendary. That's mind-boggling.
It really is.
It really is. And it's incredible to think about it. Like, it really is. But it was such a fun time. You were running around, you were blowing stuff up. You also could get blown up, especially in Nightfalls. But those weapons, it made you feel powerful. It fulfilled the power fantasy. And Black Hammer was one of those weapons. The dopamine, as you hit the White Nail, you get the White Nail over and over. Seeing that +1 when you had 0 and hitting it, and and it was fun. I remember using it on Golgoth a lot. It hits like a truck. Of course, Bungie and their sound design, so amazing. You felt when you shot the weapon, like, gosh, bro, there's nothing much else I can say about it. Amazing design too, the way it looked, the scope. Not good in PvP, but
right, yeah, PvE weapon for sure. PvE
weapon for sure. Also, patience and time, another one.
Yeah, patience and time.
All it takes is patience.
The ammo was literally summoned out of thin air, so you never had to even worry about going to collect more special bricks off the ground. On top of that, this weapon also had Mulligan, a perk.
Yeah.
Bro, what the heck?
Real quick, look at this guy, right? So we got Axor, the Archon Priest. I know you probably remember him. You
Absolutely.
Right. So not only did it have Mulligan, not only did it have White Nail, not only was it one of the best snipers. Look at the stagger that it produced on this guy, bro.
Yes.
Look. Your ammo in case you missed.
Look, he staggered.
As long as you were accurate
he staggered.
Headshots, this special
he staggered.
was unbeatable.
Bro, that's so broken, bro.
Yes, no, it was a legendary, bro. Like,
consider it the reason
not even exotic, bro. That was crazy.
When the Taken King expansion dropped.
The Gjallarhorn too, just in the favorite, like just, bro.
Two exotics that are both featured later in this video.
I used to hate those things too, bro. Those little nexus. I don't even know what they were called, bro.
Although not quite as overpowered, the Pocket Infinity was also an extremely notable and hilarious weapon.
Man, get this trash on my face.
It started off like a regular fusion rifle, but after charging it up, it would actually fire off the entire magazine in full auto, dishing out a massive amount of burst damage and surprising everyone in the Crucible. This also made it pretty overpowered because the seemingly endless stream of full auto fusion bolts made it by far the most forgiving weapon to use. It didn't really matter if you missed your first shot because you had about 1 million more fusion bolts coming out immediately after. In addition to its strange functionality, though, this weapon was also extremely prone to severe bugs and glitches. This weapon was even more buggy than Telesto during Destiny 1. Some of its most iconic glitches allowed it to charge almost instantly and also continuously fire much faster and longer than intended.
Okay, pause real quick. Pocket Infinity, more than likely I bought this weapon from Zur. I don't really remember like if I did get it as a random drop, even where I would have gotten it from. But by the time I did get this weapon, it had already been nerfed. So this infinite ammo, infinite damage or whatever it was outputting, I never experienced that with Pocket Infinity. And like you said, it's kind of more as like a meme weapon. It's not really good in PvE or PvP in my opinion.
You're a dirty fusion rifle user.
Yeah, bro. But I do like fusion rifle, but this was not one.
Bro.
This was not the one, bro.
Bro, just that's all I gotta say to that, bro.
That's it? You know what? Nothing good? Okay.
Bro, no. Any fusion rifle that come across my face, bro, just throw it in the trash, bro. Except for Vex.
Yo, this guy was blasted by fusion rifles in PvP, bro, for sure.
Bro, I thought it was the most unskillful cheeses. This is coming from the guy who used freaking the triple exotic hand cannons, by the way. And the freaking lock-on sniper. But we'll get to that, bro. We'll get to that.
Okay, all right, let's keep going.
At other times, a more detrimental glitch would just make it impossible to shoot the weapon to begin with. Even when it was working properly, though, this weapon was still extremely strong because its main perk would sometimes return missed shots to the magazine and let you stay in full auto for a very long time. This weapon was so good and had so many glitches over its lifespan that it was actually the only Year 1 exotic to never return in future years of Destiny 1. I mean, it was so ridiculous that it even had the ability to crash players' consoles sometimes, so I guess it was an understandable decision for everyone's sake.
Okay, so that weapon was just broken. It was literally sounds like a double-edged sword. You know, it could give you infinite ammo, infinite shots or whatever, or it could crash somebody's game or not even shoot at all. So this weapon was very hit or miss for both of us, more so miss. I don't remember the meta at all for this weapon.
Although Gjallarhorn was indeed the undisputed king of rocket launchers,
look at that, bro.
Truth! Also an interesting contender,
the truth!
especially in PvP. It got buffed to include 3 rockets in the magazine, which was crazy, but the main allure of this weapon was the behavior of the rockets themselves. They had absolutely wild tracking at this time, and paired with the weapon's grenades and horseshoes perk, they would automatically detonate when they got into proximity of an enemy. This made Truth basically impossible to dodge, and since heavy ammo was very
look at this clip, bro.
This thing was a menace in all Crucible
Look,
modes.
he blinked over it.
The rockets could do literal loops in the air and still
look where it's going, bro.
The target and take them out like 10 seconds later.
That's crazy. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, what I liked about Truth is that it was a Void rocket launcher, and of course the extreme tracking, some of the best tracking in the game. The Truth was good for me for Nightfalls, you know, because there's not too many, because of the Void burn modifier. You know, there's not too many weapons that I remember that were exotic that produce Void. You know what I mean? Void damage. So I was like, I actually like using rocket launchers during this time. This was early in D1, so. You know, of course, if I wasn't running Galahorn because it was a Void modifier on the Nightfall, I'll run the Truth. I did not use Truth for PvP, though. That was just me. I didn't use Truth for PvP. I used it for PvE.
Described this weapon best.
When the Truth missed you, it hadn't missed you. It was just taking the
because it had...
Alongside Truth, there was a certain type of
it also has a proximity range detonation, even though G-Horn did too.
In PvP. There was a perk called Final Round that caused increased damage on the last...
Okay, Aphrodite's Spear. Do you remember the sniper?
I do. Okay. I do remember the sniper, yeah.
Shot of the magazine. And this perk was so powerful that it actually allowed...
So, like he's explaining it, but I'm just going to explain it also.
This is the Iron Banner sniper, right?
Correct. It was the first Iron Banner sniper, and it came with Final Round, which most snipers don't have Final Round. So the last bullet, I don't want to say double, it's either double or it's 3 times as much damage as normal. So you could just shoot to the last round and then body shot, and it would kill no matter what, if they were in a super or not. So that's what made it so good. Yeah.
Certain snipers like Aphrodite's Spear to one-shot people to the body. This was crazy because people could just waste all their ammo until they had 1 shot left, and then basically just get a completely free elimination.
He got a collateral off of that, bro.
And he's using Thorn, bro.
Yeah.
Some of you might think that this would be a huge waste of ammo. And you're right. But wasting ammo was not an issue at all at the time. Special ammo was so plentiful in PvP that it basically felt unlimited, so people had no issue wasting a few shots to get down to that magic final round. Considering that you could also shoot through most walls at this point in time, final round snipers were definitely a...
Now that is crazy. I don't remember wall banging.
You don't remember?
Not intentionally.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? I probably did it like on accident, you know, a couple times, but not like, oh, I'm just gonna like purposely wall bang this guy. But this clip, and then he's gonna show another clip, like they're just crazy. Those wall bangs for D1, you know, D2 I know is more common because the way the game is, but this game it felt like wall bangs were more rare.
Force to be reckoned with. As long as you could predict the approximate location of somone's body.
I'll go back. Look at this clip.
As long as you could predict the approximate location of someone's
body. Like, come on, bro. like I would have never did that to somebody back on 360, bro. Never.
All you had to do was shoot and get rewarded
Look at this box.
With a free uncontested body shot.
Look how far back that was.
Shoot and get rewarded with a free uncontested body shot.
Broken. Not gonna lie.
The House of Wolves expansion brought a lot of shifts and updates to the weapon hierarchy, and it also brought a brand new system in the form of weapon reforging. This was a system that allowed you to take your weapons to the gunsmith and pay some materials in order to reforge them with some new perks. Although this did cut down on the luck-based part of the loot grind, it also made the average legendary weapon considerably more powerful. Before this system was introduced, many players had bad rolls on their legendary weapons, making them clearly inferior to most exotics. But now, with weapon reforging, that gap was closed a little bit and some legendary weapons became more viable. Speaking of which, allow me to introduce you to the original Party Crasher +1, the Matador 64, and the Fellwinter's Lie.
Alright, so let's pause. Let's pause, bro. Shotgun meta. 2015. 2015 now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Hey, my favorite shotgun out of those 3 listed, Fellwinter's Lie, Matador 64, Party Crasher. My favorite one was Matador 64, bro.
What? Matador?
Yes. Even though he's gonna go through it, and what's crazy is that all the statistics were pretty much the the same, but the difference is that, like you said, during House of Wolves, you could re-roll all of these weapons perks. So some had a better chance. That shot package, the final round.
Yeah, the shot package.
Or like the sliding.
Yeah, bro. Final round shot pack. Yes, bro.
Yeah.
Slide shot. Oh, I remember those.
I think my best roll for those 3 shotguns was on the Matador. So that's why I enjoyed the Matador. I think I had a decent party crasher and a Fellwinter's Lie. So
these 3 shotguns defined the shotgun weapon type for the entire first year of Destiny. They were all similar in many ways and had the...
So see, he's got the stats for each one. It looks like the Party Crasher shoots the fastest, but it didn't have the most damage. The Matador or the Fellwinter's Lie could do more damage. Looks like some of their stats are a little bit different, but most of them are the same.
But there were also some differences that skilled players paid attention to. For example, Fellwinter's Lie had an extremely powerful perk called Shot Package that made the pellets go closer together. This let you fire it much more accurately, and notably increased its
actually kind of insane,
the
bro.
ability was also quite popular during this time, and paired with any of these incredible shotguns, it was a surprisingly powerful playstyle. Some people even referred to this time as the Blink shotgun meta since it was so prevalent.
Blink, hold on.
Oh my god.
What was your main in 2015? What was your character main in 2015?
Lock all the way, baby. It never changed.
Hey.
Never changed.
What have I been preaching since Destiny 1's release, bro?
I don't know. I don't
remember. Warlock Master Race.
Oh, yeah.
That was me, bro.
At school, too.